One sunny afternoon, a young girl named Alice sat by the river. She was feeling very bored. Her sister was reading a book, but it had no pictures or fun stories. What is the use of a book without pictures? Alice thought. As she sat there, she noticed a white rabbit. But this was not an ordinary rabbit. It wore a coat, held a pocket watch, and spoke out loud. "Oh dear, oh dear, I am late," said the rabbit. Alice was very curious. She jumped up and ran after the rabbit. The rabbit hopped into a large hole under a tree. Without thinking, Alice followed it. She fell down the hole. The fall was very long. She had time to look around as she fell. She saw shelves with books and jars. One jar said, "Orange marmalade," but it was empty. Finally, Alice landed softly on the ground. She was in a long hallway with many doors. The doors were all locked. On a glass table, she saw a small key. Alice picked it up and looked for the door it could open. She found a tiny door. When she opened it, she saw a beautiful garden on the other side. Alice wanted to go into the garden, but she was too big to fit through the door. "How can I get smaller?" she wondered. On the table, there was a small bottle with a label that said, "Drink me." Alice was cautious. "What if it is poison?" she thought. But she decided to take a small sip. The drink tasted like cherries, pineapple, and hot buttered toast. Suddenly, Alice began to shrink. She became very small, the perfect size to fit through the door. But when she tried to open the door, she realized she had left the key on the table. Now the table was too high for her to reach. Alice felt sad and started to cry. Her tears made a big pool of water on the floor. While she cried, she saw the white rabbit again. He was in a hurry and dropped a pair of gloves and a fan. Alice picked them up. When she waved the fan, she began to grow taller and taller. Now she was too big again. She stopped waving the fan and ran into the garden. In the garden, Alice saw many strange creatures. She met a blue caterpillar sitting on a mushroom. The caterpillar was smoking a hookah and looked very serious. "Who are you?" the caterpillar asked. I hardly know, sir," said Alice. "I have changed so many times today." The caterpillar told Alice that one side of the mushroom would make her grow taller, and the other side would make her smaller. Alice broke off 2 pieces of the mushroom and kept them in her pockets. She took a bite from one piece and became small enough to enter another part of the garden. There, she saw a house. Inside the house, a duchess was cooking soup. A baby was crying loudly. The kitchen was filled with pepper, and it made Alice sneeze. The duchess was rude and told Alice to hold the baby. But when Alice held the baby, it turned into a pig. Surprised, Alice let the pig run away. Alice stepped outside and looked around. She wondered what kind of place she had come to. Everywhere she went, something new and strange happened. She decided to keep exploring. Outside the house, Alice saw a cat sitting in a tree. This cat had a big, wide smile. It was the Cheshire Cat. "Can you tell me which way I should go?" Alice asked. "That depends on where you want to go," said the cat. "I don't much care where," Alice replied. "Then it doesn't matter which way you go," said the cat. The cat told Alice about 2 places she could visit: the house of the Mad Hatter or the March Hare. The Cheshire Cat's body slowly disappeared, leaving only its smile behind. Alice thought the smile looked very mysterious. Alice decided to visit the March Hare. She found a long table under a tree. The Mad Hatter, the March Hare, and a sleepy dormouse were sitting there. They were having a tea party. "No room! No room!" they shouted when they saw Alice. "There's plenty of room," said Alice, sitting down. The Mad Hatter and the March Hare asked Alice many silly questions. The Hatter asked, "Why is a raven like a writing desk?" Alice tried to think of an answer, but they never gave her one. The conversation made no sense, but Alice found it very funny. The Dormouse told a strange story about 3 sisters who lived in a well. Alice tried to follow the story, but it was too confusing. After a while, Alice grew tired of their nonsense and decided to leave. Alice walked deeper into the garden and found a tree with a door in it. She opened the door and went inside. Alice found herself in a beautiful garden filled with red roses, but she noticed something strange. Some gardeners were painting white roses red. They told Alice they had planted the wrong color and did not want the Queen of Hearts to get angry. Just then, the Queen of Hearts arrived. She was very loud and bossy. "Off with their heads!" she shouted whenever she was angry. The Queen invited Alice to play a game of croquet. But this was no ordinary croquet game. The balls were live hedgehogs, and the mallets were flamingos. The game was very chaotic. The Queen kept shouting, "Off with their heads!" But no one paid much attention to her. Alice noticed that the Queen's guards and servants were shaped like playing cards. They moved stiffly and seemed afraid of the Queen. Alice thought the Queen was very strange but decided to stay calm and polite. After the game, the Queen took Alice to a courtroom. The Knave of Hearts was on trial. He was accused of stealing the Queen's tarts. Alice watched as strange witnesses came to speak. The Mad Hatter was one of them. He acted very nervous. The White Rabbit acted as a messenger. He read a strange letter, but it made no sense to anyone. Alice found the trial to be very silly. While Alice listened, she began to grow bigger and bigger. Soon, she was taller than everyone in the courtroom. The Queen shouted, "Off with her head! You're nothing but a pack of cards," Alice said boldly. Suddenly, the cards flew into the air and came toward Alice. She tried to push them away. She felt the cards surround her and close in. Alice woke up and found herself by the riverbank. Her sister was still reading. It had all been a dream. What a strange and wonderful dream, Alice said to herself. Alice stood up and walked home, thinking about the adventure she had just experienced. She wondered if she would ever visit Wonderland again. On the way home, Alice told her sister about the dream. Her sister smiled and said, "It was just a dream, Alice." But Alice knew it felt real. As she walked, she looked around and thought she saw the Cheshire Cat's smile in the sky. She smiled back and said, "Maybe I will visit again someday." Alice's adventure in Wonderland taught her that curiosity and imagination can lead to amazing experiences. Even though it was just a dream, it felt like a real journey full of wonder and surprises. She decided to always stay curious and brave, just like she had been in Wonderland.